Okay.
Step.
Welcome everyone to Hearing Loss Association of America North Bay Chapter. This is our May 2025 meeting. The mission of our chapter is to improve the world of communication for people with hearing loss through information, education, support, and advocacy. Today, we have with us Nancy Rubin, photographer, who will be presenting in a minute. I'd like you to know that our captioner today is Janelle Kula, and she is a real live person listening in and captioning. And this is called Communication Access Real-Time Technology. If you would like to have this kind of captioning for your meetings with 3 or more people with hearing loss, you can fill out the form at caconnect.org where it says remote conference captioning, and they will assign you a captioner in the state of California, I believe. Okay, so we'll have Nancy present herself and we'll share her slides. Nancy?
Well, thank you, Sarah, for inviting me here today and have a short presentation and look forward to your questions. And Sarah, I want to thank you again because when my project was finished, you gave me some names of people I might contact that perhaps they'd be happy to find a home for the exhibit, and heard from the librarians that in July that they would show it in honor of the 35th anniversary of the signing of the American with Disabilities Act. So I was excited about that, and I just found out a couple of days ago that they plan to have parts of the exhibit in all 10 libraries in Marin County. So I was thrilled to hear that. And it depends on the librarian and their space. So like the library in Bolinas will probably not have the entire exhibit. So I look forward to going around the county. I'm familiar with some of the libraries, but I'm thrilled. So Sarah, you got that in motion. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
One of my connections to Marin was that I taught at Archie Williams High School for 7 years, from 1996 until I retired in 2002. It was called Drake when I was there. But initially, I taught at Berkeley High for 25 years. In the first 5 years, I was teaching the visually impaired. And it was the blind students who really kind of made my hearing better. And they would say things like, "Oh, Susan's coming up the stairs." And I said, "Yeah, how do you know that's Susan coming up the stairs?" I said, well, listen to the way her cane is tapped. Listen to her shoes. And it wasn't that my hearing was better. It was just more attuned. And then my father was very hard of hearing. And in first grade, for show and tell, I took an artificial stapes because the smallest bone in the body, his had become calcified. And so they replaced it. And that was really incredible for many years. But the last couple decades of his life, he really was hard of hearing. And I always felt I was kind of an extra pair of ears for him. So it was kind of shocking when about 15 years ago, I started to realize that I wasn't hearing well. And so I started looking into hearing aids. We'll get back to that a little later. About 15 years ago, coincidentally, at the same time as that I got hearing aids, I got into photography, and I just became passionate about it quite quickly. And mostly I love photographing people. Prior to COVID, I loved traveling. And so kind of my favorite was to photograph people while traveling. And I love going up to strangers and having a conversation and taking their photos. I did something called Humans of Berkeley in the Bay Area. If you're familiar with Humans of New York, it was a takeoff on that. So I love photographing people, and I love having projects that have a purpose and meaning. I guess it's the teacher in me. And my first project it's called Faces of Fatherhood. And I interviewed fathers about what their experience was like being a new dad. And then I did one on aging, trying to dispel the myths of people. I think so many people think of old people in the rocking chair and not doing anything. And so I found these very active adults, hoping they inspire others. And then I did one called Forever Fit, Exercising for Life, with hoping that young people would again see older people as vital, and for older people who had not been exercising, that perhaps it would motivate them to do something. So for me, when COVID started, I started walking every day. And because people were wearing masks, I started photographing nature. And I love photographing flowers with raindrops and bees. I really got into photographing bees. If you play the spelling bee, you've seen some of my photos in there. I'm sure you've probably heard the quote that says to writers to write something that you know about. So I thought for this next project, I feel like I know quite a bit about hearing loss. I'm in a hearing loss support group through Ashby Village, and it's really helpful to hear other people with similar challenges. I got curious before this talk and I Googled where did that quote come from? And AI told me, arguably the most famous piece of writing advice is write what you know, usually attributed to Mark Twain. It's sound advice. And so that was a quote. And I love that the end of the quote was saying sound advice, which is the title of my current project, coincidentally. So I hope to educate the hearing public through this. I learned so much. I had no idea all the different ways that people had lost their hearing. And I think a lot of us, maybe who don't have a hearing loss, think of like, you have a hearing loss, you get hearing aids, the problem solved. Or you get glasses. For most of us, you get glasses and you get to 20/20 vision or close to it. But the hearing aids are so fine-tuned and all the technological challenges, and I wanted people to understand that a little bit more. Some of the things that I heard a lot, and I'm sure all of you have, is I'm going to use the word partner here, but you could substitute parent, spouse, friend, colleague, relative. My partner won't wear their hearing aids. They're uncomfortable. My partner mumbles. My partner only puts them on when he or she goes out to dinner. And my cousin talked about that, other friends saying, I wish that they would wear their hearing aids all the time, and trying to tell the importance about hearing aids in terms of how it can impact dementia and isolation and depression and so many other physical things. So I have heard from people, even a friend today who saw the exhibit, and she said, I'm going to go make an appointment to get hearing aids. So that's what I'm hoping, that something in the exhibit will trigger someone to maybe talk to their partner, make an appointment, something like that. So how did I find people for this project? I'm so glad to see Anne here because she was instrumental in getting two of the young girls in the project, and they were just delightful. Initially, I went to the East Bay Hearing Loss Association meeting and I passed out a flyer. And from that, Claudia and Linda, who you'll see Claudia in the slideshow, they were willing to be participants. Jill Ellis and Cindy Dixon from the preschool for kids who are hard of hearing, they found some people for me. Several are in my hearing loss support group. Two of them are former students. So it was friends and just putting the word out. If I had just done my friends, we would have had like, women in their 70s, probably white women. So I wanted to get more diversity, and I think the project did that. So I gave each person the same set of questions, and some people wrote a lot, and we know that people don't tend to stop and read things. So I kept editing it and sending it back. All my projects have been collaborative. So I would take dozens of photos of a person and then send them back, maybe the ones I think the top five, and ask them which one they like best. And so often the one I like best, they didn't like best. So their photo's going to be out there, their writing. So I wanted it 100% to be that they would feel good about it. So let's look at a sample of Sarah. We'll start the slideshow. Hi, Rachel. So this is Rowan. He's the youngest in the slideshow in the project. And you see him jumping there like any other kid. I was so afraid he was going to jump in with his hearing device. And his bigger sister is great about learning sign language. So he's the youngest. And then the next is the only teen who's in the project. Then the next slide. And so D'Angelo, he was just the sweetest, most confident, lovely young man. And after talking with him for about 20 minutes, I realized he wasn't wearing his hearing aids. So we had a nice conversation about that, but he's still a little embarrassed about wearing them, but he was going to try to do better. So he's the only teen. And then Sarah, the next slide, please. So Evelyn is the oldest at 95. She is just such an inspiration. She's going next month to Berlin, something she's done since her 70s. And she'll be talking with school children about the Holocaust. And Evelyn, without her hearing aids, is really deaf. And she has macular degeneration. And for her, the vision loss is really more challenging than the hearing, but it doesn't stop her from doing anything. And she took up yoga in her 80s. And the next one. So Claudia, I met through the East Bay Hearing Loss Association, and she's an artist, an author, a photographer, an amazing woman. So the next slide is of her book, which just won this week. She just won an international award for her book. It's the second award, and she mostly grows up in Berkeley, so it's really fun, all the local things that she talks about and her struggles with starting with the non-digital hearing aids and covering that up. I highly recommend the book. And the next. So Rachel, I noticed, arrived, so you can ask her some questions. Rachel is actually a former student of mine, someone I love dearly, and her book is about her teaching as a deaf person to deaf kids in a public high school. And unlike me, where I was really supported with teaching the visually impaired, it seemed like Rachel was fighting every day to keep doing what she loved doing. And it's just another fabulous read, and I highly recommend it. So maybe Rachel will say something about her book. Next is John. John at one time was a national champion, national squash champion, and he had a lot of physical challenges, and losing his hearing was really difficult. And he was the first person I photographed. And at the time, he was using hearing aids. And then later, he got his cochlear implant. And the last I talked to him, he really liked it, but he was still learning to adjust to it. And the last slide of, so these are just some of the places I've gone to get my hearing aids and the ones that I've tried. And currently it's the Oticon Intent that I'm trying. These are new to me as of a couple days ago. And I'm hoping they will work much better than anything before. If not, I have to lower my expectations now until technology catches up, because I've never been thrilled with any of my hearing aids, but I keep trying. And then the last one, I just included a photograph of some of the bees that I've enjoy seeing on my walks. And I hope that you'll be able to go to one of your local libraries and see some of the exhibit, but if not, in the comfort of your home, you can go to the link on my website and see them all at your leisure. And I hope you enjoy all their stories. So I'm open to any questions, and maybe also Rachel might want to answer some questions too. I don't know.
I have a question.
Yes.
You seem like a very pro-social, extroverted person, which is charming and fortunate. So I'm wondering, and I was once much more social than I am today because of my hearing loss is decades long. And for the last several years, it's been incomplete. I have dual cochlear implants to create some semblance of speech, a reasonable semblance in a lot of settings and not others. But I'm wondering how you deal with the social reality that we're hard to communicate with. Even when I speak to other deaf friends or deaf associates, and it's a struggle, and that's with the best of cases with when people are really motivated to cooperate and to speak and to use all the prosthetic sort of speech patterns that they could muster. Do you have any secret bullet, magic bullet for not becoming socially withdrawn as a deaf person or near severe hearing loss person?
Yeah, thank you for all that you've shared. And oh, Linda, welcome. Good to see you. Um, Linda also was in the project, so we have two people here who are participants. Thank you both for being here. Tom, fortunately, my hearing is not that bad. So, and I think I've always preferred a small group. I must say that I kind of avoid most restaurants, and if I do
Right.
go out, it's like with one person. So I have quite a few family events coming up in a couple weeks, so that's going to be a good test of my hearing aids.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you're doing all the possible things one could do with a
I
device.
think I've done what is possible to do. I was just looking for some magic.
Yeah, I'm looking for magic.
It's worth, might as well at least ask.
Yeah, yeah. So Linda is from the East Bay Hearing Loss Association, and she's been really great at getting the word out about the project. So if you have questions for Linda or Rachel, because they were both participants. Rachel. Rachel?
Yes, Rachel.
If nobody has any questions, I want to tell you about something. two things. One is you know about captions that are here, right? You all know about the captions that you can be using right now.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The other one, I'm signing. The other thing is, are you aware of a special kind of glasses that have captions on the glasses? A new thing?
Hmm.
Okay, good. Yeah. I'm going to buy those
Wow.
for when I'm around hearing friends and family,
Hmm.
see how it goes.
I'm unacquainted. I confess that I did not know about glasses that include the caption and somehow in the lens. Could you say a bit more about that, please?
They're called Hear View.
Hmm.
Let me put it in the chat.
Is the language you see on the screen simultaneous with what's being spoken or is there a delay? As there is with closed captions on television, there's a few second delay. I'm wondering, do those glasses, have they figured out how to defeat the delay, or do you just learn to get used to it?
I think there's less delay. I've never tried them, but I think they're better than TV captions
Uh-huh.
in that way.
Yeah, they're badly delayed TV captions.
What?
But you've never used them yourself, huh, Rachel? You don't need them. Good for you.
So Sarah, can I talk
I
about our last?
I've never used the glasses. No, I do need them. I need them very, very badly. When I'm around hearing people, in a group, I can't understand.
Right.
If hearing people are talking, I don't like lip reading. It's almost impossible to follow a conversation with more than one person. So I need those glasses.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Ann Thomas has input about those glasses. Ann?
Thanks, Sarah. So our last chapter meeting, which was last Saturday, we had one of the premier companies, the new companies doing captioning glasses, and they're called Captify. So there are 4 or 5 different companies doing this. And we all got to try the glasses because it was in person and they are local to the Bay Area. So I can send everybody the information about that through Sarah. We have a YouTube channel. All of you can watch the presentation. And they maintain that something that's different about their glasses than all of the other glasses is that they have microphones built into the arms of the glasses. So since they have microphones in the arms of the glasses, it's picking up the voice of the speaker so well. So the one of the questions that came up in our meeting was, okay, so it's on the glasses. So are you seeing it so close to yourself? And the Captify glasses that we all tried projected the captions like 18 inches away from you. So even though you're wearing glasses here, you're seeing the captions through your glasses 18 inches away, which is a wonderful thing. I didn't experience any particular latency with them, which is what you're calling the delay on television. Was very, very exciting. Everybody who attended the meeting was excited. They are giving us through the 20th of May a $200 discount. So if any of you are interested in trying them, you could be.
And do those glasses function with cochlear implants as well as hearing aids? Do you know?
Well, I have cochlear implants, 2 of them.
Okay, so they do work with cochlear implants.
Well, why wouldn't they work with cochlear implants?
Well, because if I remove my cochlear implants, I'm entirely deaf. Whereas when I had hearing aids, I had a little bit of residual hearing left,
You
even
don't
without
take
the
your
aid.
implants off.
Pardon me?
You don't take your implants off. You leave
Okay.
your implants on.
Okay, that's the first I've heard of these glasses, so I'm just trying to learn how they work.
Yeah, so you don't take your
I'd like to
implants,
demo
hearing
them.
aids off.
Most
You know,
And you can get prescription lenses that match the
going
prescription
to
for
the
your
church
glasses.
and bringing him the bread.
The ones, so I put them over my glasses because I need my glasses, you know, for distance and reading. So if I were interested in getting them, I would get some to match my prescription. And at this time, though, with their glasses, the only frames that you can use it's only one frame and it's black. It's a really not particularly exciting frame.
you look like Clark Kent,
Say it again.
like Clark Kent. That was part of his Superman,
Oh, yeah, like Clark Kent, that's it.
you know, fooling people that he was just an ordinary guy. So he had horn-rimmed glasses.
So at the end, Sarah, if you wanted to, you could pull up their website and show it via Zoom, and you can see the glasses, you can see everything.
Are the
Okay,
glasses able to discriminate? Let's suppose you're in a group situation at a restaurant or a living room, wherever, and there's multiple people speaking at one time, and people's commentary overlaps with one another. Do the glasses address that issue? Can the glasses somehow discriminate who they need to focus on and print their
He
speech?
said yes, but obviously, if it were a really long table, I mean, you may have to have some limitation for the microphones.
Uh-huh.
Right. So, but I found in our meeting when I was trying them, I could certainly understand there, and there were people to the side talking. I could understand
Okay.
in front of me. I could
Yeah,
read captions.
that's encouraging. I can't wait to demo them.
yes. Okay, so let's hear from Tawna.
Yeah, and I've read, thank you for that. I wish I had known you were going to be in person at the meeting with them. I've read a lot about the different ones, and I'm just wondering, since you've had them in person, a while ago in the theater, Sunny used to use caption glasses. I don't know if any of you use those instead of the cup holder things if you went to Sony theaters. And
Yes.
I'm wondering if they're similar to that. I found them interesting, but when I moved, the captions would move and I started getting a little dizzy. So what was your experience in trying them? I mean, is that a good frame of reference for me to have as an example of using caption glasses?
So I haven't used the caption glasses in the theater, so I can't compare them to that. I think it would, I think it, like all of our technologies, it would take a little bit of getting used to them. Alan Katsura's here too. Alan, did you try the glasses?
What's the approximate cost of them?
So they're $695. Then with the $200 discount, that brings it down to, what is that, $499? And unless you go to Costco, you know, getting prescription lenses is super expensive. So I think that that's really a pretty amazing price.
Okay, Rachel. Rachel, would you like to talk now?
Sorry. The price varies a lot from one company to another. And the HearView company, I think that's the main one, that's the main one that I've heard about. And that is $2,000 for the glasses. And it's been very interesting for me seeing how the deaf community responds to it. Because apparently the company was sending the glasses to deaf influencers for free and asking them to make a video of them opening the box and trying it out for the first time. And so many of them did. There's a new one that I saw today, in fact. And they show themselves trying it out for the first time in different situations, going to a restaurant, talking to their nephew, for example. And then they give a commentary on it. And there's a lot of controversy. At first, what I saw in the deaf community was people were very angry about it
Oh,
because they felt that it was a money-making scheme for something that should be free. As human beings, we deserve communication. You know, why are we paying for it? And why are we paying that much for it? So one woman made a series of posts that she got exactly the same glasses for $300, and that Herview had ratcheted up the price just because they could. So it's just, that's just one part of the controversy, but it's been very interesting seeing the comments from the deaf community.
So I just pulled up the HearView website, and now they're listing the top product at $1,099. And my understanding between the other companies and Captify is that they charge a subscription then for the captions, and Captify does not. So you need to check that out. And I'm looking here to see if you can get prescription lenses in these.
I take it from this conversation that these glasses are not covered by insurance.
It's covered by some insurance as out of network. I don't see anything here about prescription providing a prescription. So that could be something that's really important to somebody. I'm looking products. Oh,
Even hearing aids are not covered by insurance in many, many cases. Even hearing aids.
Yeah.
But ironically, cochlear implants are.
Yeah.
And that's a surgery, major surgery that costs $90,000, and many insurances will cover that, but not hearing aids.
so on the HearView website, I see that they have it's an insert that's like the piece that you put on the front for sunglasses, but it looks like it goes inside the regular frame for the glasses. Sarah, can I share this since we're talking about it?
okay, sure. Oh, let me give you permission. Participants. More. Let's see.
Sarah, you know the caret next to the share window, just let multiple people share, and that
I see. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Multiple,
And
okay.
I
There
put
you
a bunch
go.
of links. I put a bunch of links in the chat.
Okay, so this is the HearView website. Oh, we'll go home. Okay, and here they're advertising their glasses, $1,099. And they have more than one option, and I don't know what's the difference between this one all the way over here and this one. There must be something. And then prescription frames. See, this fits inside of here. It's not, it doesn't replace the lens. Okay, and
The price seems to be a lot lower than it used to be. So maybe the deaf community has put pressure on them to lower the price, which is wonderful.
See here, did you see when it changed to Captify? Did everybody see that? Sometimes Zoom doesn't let you see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this is what it looked like through the lenses. And Tom is hard of hearing, who's in the picture, who's the founder. So when you look at the person who has the glasses on, if you're looking at them at a specific angle, you see a little kind of like translucent, very faint green box. But if you look at somebody straight ahead, you don't see that.
Wow.
This is what they look like. Prescription lens, reading glasses, distance glasses, and progressives. They even do high index. This is the microphone. This is kind of like what it looks like. And they have a pro version coming out in July, and you're going to be able to change the colors of the whatever you want to see there. So this is what they're saying is the difference between their glasses and somebody else's. And I don't know, I'm just sharing this. I don't know that that's true. Oh, this part about the microphones. They said Tom said on some of the glasses, the microphone is your smartphone. And on their glasses, the microphones are on the glasses. Go
Ah.
back to you, Sarah.
That's great to
Yeah.
know about captive.
Okay, so yes, thank you, Rachel, for sharing that input from the deaf community, because we, as people with hearing loss, are interested in what the deaf community thinks. And please be assured that we're not in favor of the high prices either, and that we think it's very unfair that hearing aids are not available to children and adults with hearing loss. So there is action going on about that, getting hearing aids for, I think is it through Medi-Cal for children and adults? Okay, are there other questions or input you have for people here? Linda, I think Linda, are you in the photo series?
Yes, I'm in there. I wanted to applaud for Nancy for doing this project. It is very, as I was going through all the question and thinking about my life, it's it's a very nice project to share, because I feel like all of us here already out of our shell. So we have no fear of talking about, oh, I can't hear. So we're all comfortable, but there's tons of people out there. They're still getting their feet kind of stuck in this mud. They don't know how to get out of that frame yet. And this project really helped them to meet more people like us, and then to kind of move on with their lives. So I think this is very interesting project, and you can see different people. They're on different stages of their journey, their hearing loss journey. And then when I finally, after losing my hearing for like 10 years now, I finally realized hearing loss is like a grieving process. In the beginning, you kind of denial, you hope this hearing will come back. And then a few years later, you feel like, okay, this is not going to happen. I have to find something to do to improve myself. And, it goes through all these stages. And until 10 years later, I met a bunch of you. I feel like I'm very comfortable kind of walking out of my closet, you know. So it's a great project. It's so I hope more people will kind of resonate with us and then coming out of their shell as soon as they're comfortable. So yeah.
Linda, did you meet other people in the project? Or were
No,
you?
I knew several of them. There was, I forgot her name, the young girl, 11 years old. She's one of the top contributor for the Walk for
Sophie.
Hearing.
Sophie.
Sophie, yes. I met her the other day when Nancy was interviewing her at the Botanic Garden in Berkeley. So I heard her name all the time. I finally met her in person. I feel more connected with her. And I know Claudia, and yeah, that's all. But I don't know the rest. Yeah, but it's a very good project. I really thank Nancy for doing this. This is really good education. I wish I bump into you guys years early so I don't have to end up with all these heartache and coming out of shell.
Linda, now that the project is in a church in Berkeley, available for more people to see, do you think that you're going to go over there with a group of people, like your family or friends, and say, hey, guys, I want you to see this. I'm not the only one with hearing loss. Do you think that will happen?
Yeah, if I'm in the area, I might go check it out. It's still a daily struggle with even with my husband. You know, when he says something, I'm like, oh, what? What is it? Sometimes it's like he still forgets that I can hear well, and he mumbles and talks talks with his back towards me. You know, they don't remember. I have to constantly change myself, walk in front of them, trying to be like put my ears next to him so I can hear. So yeah. Anyway, so the people with hearing, they just don't remember. They don't really care. I feel like it's us how to adjust to get the most out of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Nancy, what has been the response to the exhibit? Do you get any response? Do people say, "Oh, I saw this," or do the librarian, does anybody at the church say to you, "Yes, this is the response we've gotten from the exhibit so far"? I can't hear you.
Nancy, you're on mute.
Okay.
No, just my one friend today who said she was going to make her appointment to see about getting hearing aids, but it's only been up for, I guess, 10 days, something like that now. But some other people who saw it online have said things like, feeling that they're not alone, and again, underlining the kind of things that Linda said about the spouse not being cooperative. A relative really wanted like his wife to wear one of the microphones and she wouldn't even try it for him. So hopefully it is kind of a starting point for conversations. And I hope to get more feedback on it as it goes. But Linda, I wanted to thank you for the kind of the summary of the project and how it's impacted you, and and for all your publicity. It was great to meet you. Yeah. Rachel, were you going to say something?
Juanita.
I have a question for Nancy. She mentioned she's going to try a new Oticon hearing aid. What is the benefit of this new model of Oticon?
Good question. Supposedly the clarity is better. The ones I was using before from Costco, and I had tried other top of the line and I'd come back to the fact that Costco's were just as good. So now I've gone to an audiologist rather than the, what do they call them, the hearing aid specialists, and had, some of the same tests, but additional tests. And several people I know have gone to this audiologist. So it's supposed to be technologically better with, different sounds, and we'll see. So far, like in this situation, I don't notice anything differently. I have noticed in the morning when I put them on that my refrigerator, seems much louder than it ever did. So I'm hoping those kinds of sounds will I'll get used to them. But the real test will be with my family. Some members, voices are hard for me to understand, and we'll be in 3 like different venues. So we'll see if there's any difference or not. And I think I'll wait till a few more generations of the glasses with the captioning. I think that they'll improve those very quickly, especially as boomers like myself are getting older and going to need those kinds of things. That's what I keep hoping, because like Siri, who so much of what I say, and I figure that Apple and Google, they're all going to be working on making those voice recognition better, which will help with hearing aids. That's my hope. Rachel, you were going to say something?
Yeah, so I'm wondering how many people are in your project and if you're going to continue doing it.
What do you mean continue doing it?
I mean, how many, is this like a once and done? Or will you continue interviewing and photographing people?
Oh,
And about how many do you have that are ready for display?
oh, there are 15 people and 1 deaf dog. My niece has a deaf dog, and there's like Deaf Dogs Do Rock is a Facebook group. At this point, I hadn't thought of following up on them, but there are 16 so far. But my next project, I think, is going to be a follow-up to the fathers, because it's been 10 years since I photographed them. So that's kind of my next project.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thanks for asking. Yeah.
Rachel, you were going to say something?
Yeah. So about the hearing aid, Oticon, I have the kind that you're about to get. And I got it recently, an Oticon ReSound. I use it sometimes. I use it to listen to music on Pandora because it has Bluetooth. But I often go back to using my old hearing aid, which is an analog. And it's way, way, way better. I love analog, but they don't make them anymore.
Yeah.
And at a hearing aid store, they'll laugh. If you show them an analog, they'll say, oh, this is history. It's crazy. I don't like digital hearing aids, but that's all they make now. So, it's good for music.
Rachel, those of us who were born with hearing loss, severe to profound hearing loss, especially in the older ages, grew up on analog. And it took me a long time to get used to digital, but now I really like it. I use Oticon XCs. Before that, I used Oticon Chilis, which are probably the highest you can get for severe to profound besides Phonak-Naida. But what I want to say to Juanita and to everyone is that the brand of hearing aid, most of the hearing aids are of like 5 or 6 major brands. Even Costco relabels those. Most of the hearing aids are good. The thing that most matters is that you have a hearing professional who can match the kind of hearing aid with your type of hearing loss and gives you the opportunity to trial them. And some things may work. Lots of people love Phonak-Naidas. I will say in my 70 plus years of wearing hearing aids, Phonak-Naidas are the only ones that I ever turn back in. So you never know what is going to work for you. You just have to try to get a good audiologist, a hearing professional, and try them out.
Yeah.
Let's see, Juanita.
I have a question for everybody. Has anybody tried the bone conducting headset? I just ordered one. I haven't got it yet, but I did have an old one and they've upgraded it. I'm deaf in one ear and hard of hearing in the other one. But with that bone conducting headset, I listen to books on tape. Has anybody had any experience with the bone conducting headset? It doesn't go in the ear canal. It goes through the skull, through the bone, the sound. Has anybody had any experience with that?
No.
Tom, you need to unmute if you want to talk.
I was, in response to the bone anchored BAHA, that goes by the acronym BAHA, I believe. I inquired from my audiologist if that would be something that might be beneficial to me. And she seemed to be pretty clear, didn't equivocate, and said, no, my hearing loss was too significant, which is to say my hearing is completely defunct without the implants. So I'm afraid I can't help you, Juanita, other than to say in that N of one case, I was told by my audiologist that it wouldn't work for me.
Okay, Rachel. Rachel, you can talk now.
Okay. My captions are not picking up my name for a while, but I just wanted to say on another topic about the value of this exhibit. And also, hats off to Nancy for her persistence. She and I had a very hard time getting together because I live far away, and she was very persistent. And even when I demanded that she bring coffee, a flask of coffee, otherwise I couldn't do it, she made the coffee and rushed over. And yeah, the value of it is a big deal to me because it's a very lonely experience, the experience that all of us have of being in between. I call us in-betweeners. So we're in between the deaf world and the hearing world. There are 48 million people in the United States with hearing loss, 48 million. But out of those, only 500,000 use sign language and are part of the deaf community. So the vast majority of us are somewhere on the spectrum of hard of hearing. And we are not part of the deaf community. We don't know sign language. And what I want to say to you is I feel very lucky because I really do have a foot in both worlds, just by accident. When I was 14, or when I was 10, I became deaf, suddenly, very deaf. And when I was 14, I found out that there was a deaf school within walking distance of my house. So I started going there, and it was not a good school for me. It wasn't a good fit. But I fell in love with sign language and the culture. The culture is funny, it's idiosyncratic, it's political, it's passionate, it's strange and fascinating. Even as a teenager, I found it fascinating and funny. And being in a school where everybody's signing instead of talking, it's like you have stepped into another world, like Alice in Wonderland. You stepped into another world.
Yeah.
And I felt very lucky. as a teenager to be stepping into a different world. And at this point, I have a hearing husband who doesn't know much sign language. And many of my closest friends are hearing and don't sign. And I went to many hearing schools, which is where Nancy was my teacher. And even though I knew she was an incredible teacher, like the one teacher throughout my whole education who stands out, who I remember and who I realized was somebody extraordinary as a teacher, I could not hear her in the classroom. I figured out from what she wrote on the board and the handouts she gave us and the visitors she brought in who were very unusual people. And also from how she let students stay and talk to her after class and bare their hearts to her about things they had nobody else to tell. So I knew she was special. And the activities she did, which I've never forgotten to this day. But I couldn't hear anything she said in class. So I'm very deaf. And even for people who are less deaf than me, the loneliness of our lives is quite extreme. And I know that. And the deaf are what deaf people in the deaf community who sign, that's what the public sees in movies and TV, you know, the famous deaf people. But what they don't realize is that there's a massive number of people like us, or like you, I should say, because I am kind of in a different place where I have access to both worlds. But it's extraordinarily lonely. And I'm just about to start writing a book on that subject about the in-betweeners. I want to help people like you guys be less scared of the deaf world and to understand why sign language might have some benefit for you and just for moral support in all the predicaments you find yourself in.
Thank you, Rachel. Let's see, Anne, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I did. Nancy, you know, we have the Walk for Hearing coming up on May 18th. If you put together a flyer, I'll make sure to distribute it. I'm working in the information booth at the Walk, so I'll make sure that people see it and know about the exhibit, and I'd give them out. Nancy, you're mute. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, I will do that for sure. Thank you so much. And wanted to say to Rachel, thank you for all your beautiful words about my class back then. And Berkeley High did offer American Sign Language as get credit for a foreign language for many years. I don't know if they still do, but there's a couple who's featured in the project. The husband's deaf, and my former student met him through sign language. So she had taken sign language at Berkeley High and then went to, how do you pronounce it, Gallaudet, the College for the Deaf, and that's where she met her husband. So yeah, I tried to learn sign language at one point, and the teacher was so dramatic and wonderful. I just enjoyed watching him. Was not a good student, but I wish I knew it. But it would be wonderful if it was offered in more schools.
I see Beth has her hand up. Beth?
Yes, I am curious, where could one learn the sign language? Like, I have no idea where I would learn something like that.
There are many, many, many apps on your phone. Some of them are for free, and one of them is called Lingvano.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. It's called what?
Lingvano, Lingvano.
Okay, thank you.
That's excellent. Very easy, self-directed, fun, and it's run by deaf people. It's all the teachers are deaf, which is a good thing.
Okay,
but
thank you.
you can also go to a community college or take a class online or get a tutor. There's many, many ways.
Yeah. Well, I would be looking for a freebie one if possible. Again, the cost is an issue. So but thank you. I'll check out the one online.
Yeah, so I'm using one. It's called Sign School. It's an app. It's a free app. So they give me one sign every day, and then so I kept looking at it every day. I'm building my vocabulary. It's a free app. I know at Berkeley City College they offer sign language class, but you do have to go there in person to learn. But this
Right.
way, the Sign School app, it's free. They have different icons. They have games you can play in there. They have dictionary. They give you a sign every day. So there's lots of things to look at every day.
Okay, great. And I'll check out the City College, San Francisco City College. They may have
Berkeley.
something. Yeah.
Berkeley
Well, I'm
City.
in San
Yeah, I don't know if
Francisco,
San Francisco. Oh, you're in
yeah.
the city?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah,
check it out.
okay. Okay.
You're muted, Rachel.
Life Print. And that one is free and it's excellent. And again, the teacher is deaf. He's a friend of mine, but it's a very good program, Life Print.
Okay. Thank you.
Rachel, this is Sarah. I want you to know that I took an American Sign Language class at the College of Marin when I was 65. I'm 74 now. I was literally 50 years older than everybody in the class because the students were high school students getting their foreign language requirement. But I will tell you, I did my darndest and I learned a lot. And I speak Spanish and German, but learning ASL was something different. It was, okay, get your face in action, get your eyebrows. You got to lift them for questions, raise your eyebrows for questions, use your hands. It's so different than studying a language with the roots and the prefixes and suffixes. It requires a different part of the brain. So I keep trying a little bit, and I certainly respect the beauty of the language, and I'm jealous of people who can learn it easily.
What were you saying just now?
It's there. I said I'm jealous of people who can learn it easily.
Yeah, I think it really makes a difference how you learn. In other words, maybe a tutor is better for you. Maybe an app is better for you because you can do 10 minutes a day. And after every little lesson, it will say, "Yay, you did it," and it's They're in a ASL class at a community college, like the one in Marin or BCC, Berkeley City College. Those are the top teachers. And I know all of them. They're friends of mine. And they are teaching people to become interpreters. So they're very intense and very serious. And not all of them are good. You know, some of the teachers are too fast or too mean or they have no sense of humor. You know, you need to find what works for you. And very often it will be one-on-one, a tutor who is not trying to teach you the language to perfection, but just conversational skills and a way to have fun with it.
Well, I hear you and I see you, and I want to let you know there's a place for you in our chapter if you would like to offer regular ASL encounters on Zoom. We welcome you. Maybe once a month could be Rachel's something. Let's think. Rachel's signing, Rachel's ASL, Rachel's deaf encounter.
I'll think about it. Thank you. It's a wonderful idea. I love teaching ASL. I love doing it. Right now, I'm tutoring 13 or 14 different people online in
Oh,
groups and individually, and I love it.
well, if you would like to do that, you know how to contact me, and I think you would have some students or however you would like to do it. Okay? I'm just putting it out there.
I'll think about it. Yeah, thank you. And we can email about it. It's a beautiful idea because
Yes.
sort of the whole point of my next book is people who don't have the benefits that I have found in this whole deaf world. And sign language is one aspect of that. So it's a
Yeah.
beautiful idea.
Yeah. So let's get back to Nancy and see if there's some final questions, or Nancy, if you'd like to add or summarize anything about your project, because Alan will be uploading this to the HLA, California State Association YouTube channel. So if you just want to add any thoughts, I'd like to give you that opportunity.
Thank you. Well, I love doing the speaking engagements, and I guess I would hope that perhaps the exhibit could be in other communities, or at least more people would be aware of it online. Rachel mentioned the deaf influencers, and I actually found a couple online, and I wrote to one, haven't heard back, but I think we get a lot of eyeballs if there was some social influencer, but I don't know any personally. So if anybody knows any that could recommend a link to the project, that would be fantastic. But yeah, I learned so much from doing the project, and be my hope that others would too.
I just wanted to ask you, the exhibit you have now in Berkeley at the church, do you have the whole exhibit there? Is that what you do?
Yeah. Correct. And that was my sense that wherever it would be all of them. It's just that the libraries came up with, well, let's put it in all 10. So I have no idea if most of them will just do 2 or 3. My guess would be that most would want to have Claudia and Rachel and their books on display. But I don't know how they're going to do it yet. They're going to find out about that, I think, next week. But ideally, I think, I mean, even with 18 people, there's still not you don't get everybody, but it's a little bit of a cross section. But if you just take 2 or 3 of the panels, I think it loses something. But I'll take that. But ideally, having all the panels up would be great.